Greetings, all you technology haters out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor, a Star Trek Deep Space Nine rewatch, Season 2. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Ah, yeah. That's Elvish for hello.
Ah, okay. Today we're going to recap, discuss, and rate Season 2, Episode 15, Paradise. Alternate title, Escape from the Planet of the Unabombers.
See, but my thought was men in uniform.
Okay.
Because of how weird the whole uniform
Right.
is.
But is that like a play on something? Like
Yes. Just...
like Men in Black?
No, I was like, oh, what's like a movie title with uniform in it? And I searched for that, and it was like, women in uniform, men in uniform. Mostly it's like, it seems to be like pornographic type things.
Oh, okay. A quick note on spoilers in case our rewatch is your first watch. Expect full spoilers through this episode, because it's, what we're talking about. We need to spoil it.
Yep.
But only an appropriate minimum of minor spoilers for later in the series. Nothing too major, like when Christopher Walken joins the cast. So pretty big moment in Deep Space Nine history.
I mean, he's always good, so...
Yeah, when he's Quark and Rom's dad.
My thought was like new tactical officer. Can you just imagine that?
just like a new guy shows up.
Yeah.
It's like, and he's like an ensign. Ensign Walken. Report. What do you want, sir? I can't do a Christopher Walken impersonation. Okay. This episode originally aired February 13th, 1994. It was written by... All right, here we go.
Just like that, February 13th, that makes this like the Valentine's episode of the show.
I guess so. They probably didn't plan that.
No, yeah.
They probably planned it as much as we plan these things. Okay, but it was written by Jeff King, Richard Manning, and Hans Beimler.
Uh-huh.
Story by Jim Trombetta and James Crocker. And directed by Corey Allen. So a lot of hands in this stew. And
apparently, two of those guys, Richard Manning and Hans Beimler, during the filming of this episode, Ira Stephen Bear is like, hey, you guys want to join the writing staff of Deep Space Nine? So I guess he felt like they were doing a really great job. Huh. And they both said no.
All right, then.
Beimler would, however, join the crew a year later as a producer and writer.
Oh, neat. I was gonna be like, they both went on to have stellar careers without Deep Space Nine. Probably.
Let's see what Richard Manning's done. Now I'm curious. One episode of Deep Space Nine. The end.
One episode of Deep Space Nine. One arrest for vagrancy.
Okay, Richard Manning, an author, comes up, but it only shows books for him. Let me see if he's the same guy.
Yeah, maybe he...
Richard Manning, on IMDb, is known for Star Trek The Next Generation, Farscape, and Tyrannosaurus Azteca.
All right. Tyrannosaurus Azteca.
Yeah, so let's see. He was a writer for several things I haven't heard of. Next Generation is the first thing on here that I've heard of. He did 15 episodes of The Next Generation.
Oh, okay.
She-Wolf in London, one episode of Deep Space Nine. I guess that's this one. Exo Squad, Tech War.
Oh, I remember Exo Squad.
Sliders, 2 episodes of Sliders, 10 episodes of Farscapes. Yeah, that was
okay. This guy has cred with me.
Then Tyrannosaurus Azteca. It says
Is he has a show.
I'm finding out right now, but he has 10 episodes of Farscape, which ends in 2003, and then his next credit is Tyrannosaurus Azteca in 2007. So I feel like he was hard up for work for a while there. Okay, this is, I guess, a movie from 2007, not rated. A band of 16th century conquistadors must fight for their lives when they realize they're going to be served as sacrifices to a godlike T-Rex.
Okay.
And I know this woman who's in these pictures. What is she from? I'm not sure which one you are.
I'm sure it's subtly and expertly plays with themes of colonialism and
Okay, so this woman who's in this movie that I recognize is Deacon Lockman.
Oh, yeah. Dyken Lockman.
Dyken Lockman, sure. There you go.
She's one of the Joss Whedon Weird Name Club.
Dollhouse. That is exactly where I recognize her from.
Along with
some episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. And she was famously in Altered Carbon, where like a million naked versions of her sword fighted with the main character.
Oh, and Severance, which you know that show, right?
Oh, yeah. She's... Spoiler alert. She's the therapist who turns out to be...
So yeah, Tyrannosaurus Azteca is one of her first credits.
Wow. Now I kind of need to watch this movie. So in this episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine...
Yeah, this episode is not Tyrannosaurus Azteca. Although a Tyrannosaurus could have shown up. I mean...
I would have totally been all for it.
That might have been one of those things where it's like, man, don't you wish you had some technology now that a T-Rex is here?
Should have checked for T-Rexes. So we believe in cloning technology, but not electric technology. Okay, so Commander Sisko and Chief O'Brien are flying around in a runabout, checking out star systems near the wormhole to see if any would be good for colonization. Why this is a job for Commander Sisko and Chief O'Brien and not like Dax or anyone else, I don't know.
Yeah, it does seem weird that you have the station commander and like the chief engineer guy off doing this stuff instead of, Dax would make sense, or just, I don't feel like this is a high-level officer job. This is like kind of some grunt work, I feel like.
This is like, get Melora back. This is like her kind of job.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird when we open with station log, but we're not even on the station. Anyway, Commander Sisko seems to be trying to get Jake an after-school job working for Chief O'Brien. O'Brien tells the story of how he didn't know anything about engineering until he had to get a transporter up and running on Setlik 3. So more little clues about the whole Setlik 3 situation. Their sensors pick up a planet that would be perfect for a colony. And it seems there are already humans living there.
Maybe not perfect for a colony if there's already people there.
Well, I mean, it's a whole planet, so...
Well, that's fair.
Like, put it on another continent if you're that worried about, like, being too close to your neighbors. They try establishing communication with the planet, but their comms seem to be blocked by some kind of duonetic field, whatever that is. They beam down to the planet and immediately notice that all their electronic gizmos have stopped working.
Yeah, see, this is the kind of thing that maybe you don't beam the only two people on the runabout down in the first try to see what's up down there.
It's like, this is where they learn the lesson. We beam one guy down, and then if something goes wrong, beam him immediately back up.
Yeah. Or, I mean, worst case scenario, you can't beam him back up, go for help.
Yeah, exactly. Or call for help.
Yeah.
O'Brien muses that it must have something to do with this duonetic field. Suddenly they find themselves at bow and arrow point by two strangers. Bum, 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 and then we have to go to opening credits, after which immediately they recognize them as Starfleet and relax.
So, to talk about the duonetic field for a second.
Okay.
Andrei Bormanis came up with the term. Originally, they were like, we need a name for this field thing. He says, originally I came up with rapidly fluctuating electromagnetic field pulse. But then Colomini has to say it like 15 times in the script. So we called it duonetic field instead, which was a play on the duotronic circuitry from the original Enterprise.
Oh, yes, how playful. So the two strangers introduce themselves as Joseph and Vinod. Joseph explains that they were on their way to a different colony 10 years ago when ship trouble forced them to land on this planet, where they were stranded due to the electricity not working issue.
Yep.
Now it has become their home. Joseph invites them to their village and sends Vinod ahead to tell his mother of their arrival. They arrive at the village where the residents are excited and hungry for news of the outside world in the last 10 years. Sisko and O'Brien meet Vinod's mother, Alexis, who seems to be the community's leader. She attributes the lack of electricity to, quote, astatine deposits. She says Cisco and O'Brien are welcome, but they will have to work while they wait to get rescued. Back on DS9, Kira announces the upcoming arrival of an admiral, who Dax explains is a poker buddy of Commander Cisco. They try calling the Rio Grande to summon Cisco back, for his poker night or whatever.
I love the fact that Cisco apparently is bad at poker and can't bluff.
Yeah. Which is, pretty interesting.
Kira, it's a great exchange where Kira's like, looking at oh, that's weird. And Dax is like, I know, right? You'd think a guy like him would be... No. It's actually relevant information, not what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they get no response from the Rio Grande. Cisco and O'Brien quickly learn that Elixis is a prolific philosopher who has always disliked technology, and that she made them throw out all their technology when they arrived, so it wouldn't be a reminder of their past lives. They find Elixis tending to a woman dying of some kind of bug-borne illness, for which there seems to be no easy cure. Cisco and O'Brien realize that the medkit on the runabout could help her, and begin brainstorming ways to get back up there, but Elixis is resistant to the idea. She takes Cisco aside and asks him to stop getting people riled up with talk of fixing the technology or getting rescued by Starfleet. She also encourages Cisco to take off his uniform because, it gets hot in the afternoon. You don't want to be wearing that uniform when it gets hot.
I assume that Starfleet uniforms are designed to be like comfortable in various weather conditions.
Oh, yeah, we've totally probably seen them in way hotter situations than this.
I mean, I'm pretty sure in like Next Generation stuff, we probably saw them in like hot situation where they like took off the top layer of their uniform or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's not going to go that far even.
Cisco and Dax are able to locate the Rio Grande flying around at warp with nobody aboard. They set off to intercept it. After a fun-looking day of working the fields, Cisco and O'Brien witness a man being taken out of a hot box after being punished for stealing a candle. Cisco and O'Brien do not approve. But Elixis explains it away with some vague, wishy-washy Law and Order bullshit.
Well, there doesn't seem to be any sort of currency. It's like you work and you get, it's like a communist thing.
Uh-huh.
You do the work, you get what you need to survive.
And by communist, you mean a totalitarian dictatorship that calls itself communist.
Yeah, well, my point being that I don't know why this guy is stealing candles. Like, did he use up his candle allotment faster than normal, and so he needed more candles, or was he gonna like try to fence extra candles on the? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's much I don't understand, but you'll get used to it eventually, she says.
Yeah, she doesn't even like try to hide the fact that she's like expects them to be here permanently.
Cisco takes O'Brien aside and is like, can you get the electricity to work soon, please? In his room, which has no doors because Elixis doesn't believe in that, a lady comes in to rub oil on Cisco's muscles. She's like, hey, stud, you need me to rub some oil on your muscles?
He's like, yeah, no, thanks.
Cisco quickly deduces that Elixis sent her to sleep with him. He confronts Elixis and notes what a coincidence it is that a person who hates technology just happened to get stranded on a planet where technology doesn't work. Elixis spews more nonsense and then mocks him for still wearing his uniform and wanting to get back to his own life with his son and his friends and his job that he's good at and enjoys. As punishment for resisting her attempts at sex trafficking or whatever, she makes him take night watch duty. Then the next day has him work a shift in the field, once again urging him to take off his uniform, which he does not do.
Oh.
Kira and Dax catch up with the rogue runabout and use an old Hopi lasso trick or something with a tractor beam to pull it out of warp. Luckily it works and they are not totally destroyed, as Dax worries.
Yeah, we've seen like matching warp for transport before, and I don't think anyone ever mentioned it being as dangerous as Dax seems to indicate it is here.
Yeah, and then like I don't know. Is that really the best solution they could come up with? The thing that has like a shot of destroying you, but whatever.
Also, I feel like there's got to be a way that you can communicate with, that other Federation ship and be like, hey, stop.
Yeah, like send a signal. Say, hey, slow down, please. They beam over and discover that someone tried flying the Rio Grande into a star, but they were dumb and effed it up, almost as if they were a person who hates all technology.
I mean, it really just brings up so many questions about, A, how did this person get onto the runabout?
Uh-huh.
I mean, presumably, like, they turned off the duonetic field briefly, but then does a Starfleet runabout just let any old person, like, call up and be like, hey, beam me up?
They must have a hidden transporter or something. I don't know.
Oh, they had like a whole transporter hidden. Okay.
I honestly have no idea.
And then apparently just any person who ends up on board can like direct it into the sun.
Yeah. This does bring up many questions.
There needs to be more security than this is what I'm saying, Starfleet. Come on.
Yeah. Although I did watch I think it was a YouTube video I saw a while ago about how it's actually very, very hard to fly something into the sun. Like, if you miss by even a little bit, it's just going to slingshot back around the sun. And then,
really?
Yeah.
I just assumed that part was bullshit, where I was like, come on, the sun's really huge. I'm sure it's not hard to get in there.
Yeah, you think, like, you can just, like, aim it at the sun and the sun's gravity will suck it in or something. But apparently it's, like, a lot trickier than that.
Huh.
Back on the planet, O'Brien has been caught trying to get his technology to work, which Alexis suddenly announces is a crime.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, where she's like, he was guilty of the worst crime, wasting time. And I'm sitting here like, okay, if he did his shift in the fields or whatever, like, are you in absolute control of what somebody does in their off hours also? Like, no one is allowed to do anything without clearing it with you first? Because
apparently,
I don't know why this society agrees to that.
Apparently she can just order people to take shifts and like do whatever work she wants them to do.
But yeah, okay, and that I actually understand. If you're the dictator of society, then yeah, being like, you take a shift doing this job, that I get. But it's just like, hey, you take a shift doing this job, and then after they do their shift, they're like at home reading a book, and you're like, how dare you read a book in the box with you? No,
this is how these people didn't like lynch this lady long ago, I don't know.
And really, even before this, although definitely after this, even before this, like, it's like, oh yeah, there's like astatine deposits in the swamp around us. We assume that's why the technology doesn't work. And I was like,
so can you walk farther away?
Yeah, you could
the swamp
walk elsewhere and call the runabout. Why do we never try that? And at this point, I'm like, hey, dudes, just leave. Like, O'Brien and Sisko could be like, all right, screw you guys. We're out of here. We'll wait for rescue elsewhere.
Yeah, we will go set up camp somewhere far away and not bother you guys anymore.
It's bizarre to me that Sisko's like, yeah, okay, I'll go in the box.
Yeah. So the punishment for O'Brien trying to fix technology and get rescued is that Sisko has to go in the hot box.
That, I mean, I get that. She says it like, well, you're his commanding officer, so you're responsible for him, so you're going to go in the box. Which, on some level, yeah, and I could see Sisko making that argument. It's weird that someone else does.
Yeah.
But in point of fact, Sisko specifically ordered O'Brien to do what he was doing. So, like, O'Brien can't not do what his commanding officer orders. So it really is Sisko's fault if you consider it wrong.
I mean, well, she doesn't know that. But anyway.
Right, exactly. She doesn't know that. She was just looking for a reason to punish Sisko to make him take off his uniform.
Yeah. Once he gets out, Alexis offers Sisko a glass of water if he will just say that there are 5 lights. I mean, take off his uniform. Sisko again refuses and goes back in the box. O'Brien, fed up with all this bullshit, begins looking for the source of the duonetic field. He's caught by Joseph, but quickly talks him into letting himself get knocked out.
And he's like, oh, so you want me to look the other way while you, like, leave? And I was like, are they really not allowed to leave? Like, does this explain what like, my issue from earlier? Like, because he makes it sound like it's a prison, and he's the guard, and he's like, oh, so you want me to look the other way so that you can escape?
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, this is like the seriousness of their situation ramped up really fast.
Yeah. Using some kind of homemade compass, O'Brien tracks the source of the field to a gizmo buried out in the woods. He's caught by Vinod, but is able to distract and ambush him with the old uniform distraction trick.
Yup.
O'Brien returns to the village where he uses his phaser to rescue Cisco and get Alexis to admit that the whole no electricity thing was a setup from the beginning. We're leaving, and we're taking this asshole and her son with us, says Cisco. Luckily, Kira and Dax showed up at just the right moment to pick them up. Okay, says Joseph, but the rest of us are staying here, because this is our home now. Whatever the F you want, dude, says Cisco, and immediately calls Kira and beams them up with no further inquiry of if anybody wants to leave. Many people in the village silently kick themselves for not speaking up that they wanted to leave when they had the chance.
Yeah, yep.
Two kids step forward to stare at the hot box, knowing that they have many years of horrible torture punishment for minor infractions ahead of them. The end.
This is one of those situations where I'm like, I hope they come back and check on these guys eventually, not like Khan in Star Trek 2, where he's like, Admiral Kirk never sent anyone to check on our progress.
Yeah. Hopefully they show back up and these people realize, like, no, we want to leave.
It's kind of funny because it becomes a story point in a couple episodes at least of the lower decks, where the captain is proposing this initiative where they go and check up on some of these planets that like original series or Next Generation visited one time. And it's like, maybe after like Kirk showed up and overthrew their god who was secretly an evil computer, maybe we should go back and check on them and make sure they're still doing all right.
That is a good idea. So what is there to say about this episode? Cisco won't take off his uniform.
Nope.
I guess good for him.
I mean, it's a very good portrayal of how like these sort of things work with these sadistic people, where it's like, ridiculous amounts of torture, and then like, I'll give you this water if you just give in on this one little thing.
Yeah.
To like get you starting to do what they want you to do.
Yeah. I kind of wonder how nobody called bullshit when like this super anti-technology lady led them to a planet where technology doesn't work.
Uh-huh. Well, she didn't lead them there. They crashed there accidentally.
Right. I would have been like, okay, wait a second.
I assume that in the beginning, she was the only one who knew anything about how to live without technology. So that's how she ends up as like the leader of the group, because she's like, hey, I know how we can survive, how to farm and stuff, which none of you guys know anything about.
Yeah.
And then also, maybe her son like showed up with this compound bow and arrows or whatever, and so it was like, do what I say or I'll shoot you with these arrows.
It's like he's the only guy with a pointy stick, so
yep.
He rules by default. It's like, oh no, they have boards with nails in them.
I'll make a board with a nail so big.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't have much to say about this episode. It's kind of, a little bit of whatever that episode was called, the Four Lights episode.
Yeah, I can see that. There's a little bit of aspect of that. Although Mark A. Altman is quoted here saying that Paradise is a far more intriguing look at the dynamics of cult leadership than the relatively ponderous Next Generation entry, Descent Part 2.
Okay. Which one is that? Is that the one?
I mean,
where...
that's lore in the Borg.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it just would have been nice if there would have been some kind of like, hey, yeah, you can totally like live without technology. You don't have to be a horrible hotbox sex trafficking like dictatorship, though. You guys realize that, right?
Yeah, like 10 years on, now you're all used to, the surviving without technology thing. Maybe overthrow the tyrant chick.
Yeah. It's like, do you not see how insufferable this lady is?
I mean, you might have to wait until her son puts his bow down, but then you
Yeah.
grab it, and now you're in charge.
It's like her police force is literally one guy with a bow and arrow. You can overthrow. You can achieve this. You can have your glorious revolution, and then everybody can have all the candles they want.
Apparently, this is the first episode of the series without Odo and Bashir.
Ah, that's true. I mean, it's true that they're not in it, but it was just like they go to this planet, they see this horrible situation, and they take almost no steps to actually like fix the situation. Or I mean,
Cisco is really passive the whole time.
They're not even like, okay, like, you guys know the hot box is bad, right? Like, don't do that anymore. Instead, they're just like, okay, bye. There's a bunch of people milling around in the background. Like, wait, I wanted to leave.
I really feel like even if her plan had worked perfectly, this is like a Starfleet commander is not the kind of person you as a tyrannical dictator want to add to your colony permanently, because this is someone used to leadership and command. Who will not happily sit with whatever you command them to do. So that it's really, you should have been all for getting rid of them.
That's true. I guess, I mean, that's why she was so focused on getting Cisco to comply.
Yeah.
Like, so there's this book by Neil Stevenson called Seven Eves, and it's about the moon explodes and all this crap rains down on the Earth and destroys everything. So they have to get as many people off the planet as they can. And then one of the rules is world leaders are not allowed to leave the planet.
Captain goes down with the ship. Yeah, okay.
But at the last minute, the president of the United States sneaks on a rocket and then goes up.
Why didn't he just like make somebody else president? And then it's like, I resign.
I guess you couldn't do that or something. I don't remember. But anyway, so like the president of the United States, who's, a ultra sneaky, crafty politician.
Sure. Like
in the mix of these, regular people who are all like launched into space, turns into this huge problem where like, she basically creates a alternate like government that she is in charge of, and it causes all these problems.
As it would.
Yeah. So it's like, that's why, so you don't want two leaders in the same group or whatever.
That's why you don't want politicians in general in your survivor group. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Just,
It's like one of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books features like, I don't think it was politicians, but it's like a spaceship full of useless people, like all the useless members of society, like it was like, telemarketer types, or one of them was like telephone sanitizers. There's just all like hairdressers. There's all these, and it was like they'd all been told that the planet was about to be destroyed and the society was being divided up among like 3 rocket ships to escape. And all of these people were going on rocket ship number 3, which was the first one launched. And it turns out that like they had just come up with a way to get rid of a third of their population that they considered completely useless.
Nice.
But then the joke, of course, ends with like the society did super well for a long time after that, until they were all wiped out by like a disease contracted from a dirty telephone.
Mm-hmm. Also reminds me of the time on Mad Men when they like merged with another firm, and then like Roger Sterling calls in the because also earlier in the series he had fired this guy from their company, and this guy became the head of accounts for a different company. Then they merged with that company, and Roger Sterling calls him in and fires him again. And the guy's like, what? He's like, I just started imagining like you and me in meetings, and then you always like speaking up and disagreeing and like providing alternate views and stuff, and now I don't have to worry about that.
Okay. trying to find interesting things from. There's not a lot on the wiki about this one either. Jim Trombetta based his original idea for the episode on the primitivist anti-technology philosophy of the Khmer Rouge.
Oh, okay.
I don't know much about the Khmer Rouge, and I did not know that they had an anti-technology philosophy. So.
Those are the guys who did the killing fields, right?
Yeah.
So probably not good.
Communist Party of Kampuchea. It was their actual name, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I even, like, there's a lot in here about, like, the cult aspect of the story, and I don't think it even really occurred to me as, like, a cult story until I read this. I'm like, okay, I guess it kind of was.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a bunch of people. Usually a cult is like a charismatic leader will draw, like, people of a certain personality type towards them.
These people weren't given an option about being here or not being here. So.
Yeah, it's more like she trapped these people and forced them to be in her cult.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end, they're like, no, we like the cult. We're going to stay, even without our leader. And so, okay, Ira Stephen Bear and the producer and the director were both disappointed with the final form of the episode. Bear says that he feels the show wavers unevenly between depicting the colony in both good and bad light, but never settles for either view.
I did not feel that the colony was ever depicted in a good light, except maybe at the very beginning.
We went back and forth over whether what these people were doing was a positive thing or a negative thing. Star Trek is such a tech show, and making these people anti-technology, it was almost like doing a negative show on Greenpeace.
Yeah.
Let's see. The woman had created a paradise, and she needed to preserve it through discipline.
Also, was it a paradise?
No. We set out to let her be the reasonable and caring human being that she and I agreed she was. Oh, this is talking about the actress.
Oh, okay.
So she's supposed to be a reasonable and caring human being.
Yeah, like, these people have to work out in the fields and
get uncurable bug bite diseases.
Yeah, it's...
But I mean, I guess that more explains the end, where they're like, no, we want to stay, this is our home. If it was supposed to be a paradise, then okay.
Sure.
I can understand them being like, no, we don't want to leave.
They might have just been like, hey, can we have some, like, medicine or something before you go?
A couple of replicators, just... the guy's like, I don't know if we're going to leave the device on or not now. And I was like, why would you? I mean, even if the device was off, you don't have to use any technology you don't want to use. Man, that one engineer guy is just going to be like the new dictator now.
Yeah, I know. It was like, how do we know he's not going to just be putting people in the hot box? And then, yeah.
I like that Steven guy, the only thing we ever get about his character is that he's a thief. Like, she was like, Steven, if you'd gone on to live your life, you'd probably be in prison by now. I was like, okay, so that's his one character trait. He stole a candle, he steals. That's his thing. All right. I wonder how many times he's had to go in the hot box. Because she's all like, he will never steal a candle again, and neither will anyone else who saw what happened to him. And I was like, okay, but if stealing, as you describe later, is just a thing that he does, is obviously it's not a deterrent from stealing in general if he's stolen other things before this candle.
Yeah, I mean, was this his first time in the hot box?
And if it was his first time in the hot box, then why are you all like, you'd be in prison now? What else? I mean, because he stole a candle one time recently?
Anyway, so you want to just jump into ratings for this?
Yeah, sure.
How would you rate this episode?
Despite all the negative talk, all the negative things I had to say about it, I don't dislike this episode. I think it does some stuff decently. It kind of lands in the forgettable category for me.
Yeah. But
not like bad forgettable, just like, I mean, it's okay. So it's going to be just above the line for me. It's going to be what, Lieutenant Commander's just above the line?
Yeah.
I always forget. Yeah, okay. Then yeah, that's where it's going to be.
Just under the alternate?
The alternate with its
I mean, you liked the title. You liked the alternate.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's under the alternate.
Okay, Paradise. The title at least kind of makes sense. I'll give it that.
Yeah, especially if they're trying to write it as Paradise.
Sure. I'm going to put it just under the line. It was just kind of like vaguely annoying to me. most of the time. I wish it was like there's no payoff at the end. Like they just leave.
It is weird. I agree with what you were saying. Yeah, there's like Cisco is so tired of being here that he's just like, yeah, screw all of you. I mean,
Yeah.
you do what you want. You come with us. You don't come with us. I don't care. I'm out.
Yeah, and there's so many like different kinds of these episodes and like next gen especially, where it's like there will be like one guy on the planet who's like the real hardliner or whatever, and then like a more moderate person eventually has to find the courage to step up and take over or whatever. But it was just like that Joseph guy was just like, I guess I'm just in charge now. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put it. Let's see. Do I like it more or less than Rivals? I don't want to say I like it more than Rivals, but I will say I like it more than Second Sight. So I will make it a lieutenant, full lieutenant.
Okay.
Between Rivals and Second Sight. Man, that was fast. I feel like we owe people more entertainment than that, but I just got nothing.
There's really just not a lot to say about the episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's
like I said, even the wiki has like limited anything and they're really digging deep in this Wikipedia entry for stuff to say. Like, hold on, let me like there's talk about it mentions Cisco begins his station log while aboard the Rio Grande, which was funny. But there's a whole long thing about like it may seem contradictory that O'Brien says his actions during the Cardassian War, quote unquote, earned him the gold suit while his first appearance on the Next Generation he's wearing a red style outfit. But and like
sure.
It goes on to talk
it's
about
like, yeah, whatever. I don't care.
Exactly. It's just there's lots of talk about where it was filmed. Like Paradise was filmed in Griffith Park, except then there's another thing where it's like, this was a tough show because we had to create this exterior environment on stage 18 and they shot it like blah blah. There's talk about how it was shot, what kind of lenses.
Okay.
Like they're really digging for stuff to say, and there's not that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine if you don't like technology, but like, and if that's how you want to live your life, but it's just don't do this. Don't do this thing.
Don't force a bunch of other people to be your like subjugated whatever on your anti-technology world.
Yeah, I just don't even have the energy to like go into like, you know, the pros and cons of this philosophy. Just don't do it.
Pretty fair.
Just take a nice like no phone vacation every once in a while. Okay, I think we gotta call it. It's just no joy is going to be squeezed out of this episode. I mean, okay, this episode had 5 writers. You know, kind of not as bad as you would expect for a 5-writer episode.
I agree. Like when we talked about previously, like last week, I was like, "Uh-oh, this is one of those like multi ones showing up next time." Yeah. But yeah, it was okay.
For the most part, it was competently made. Okay, anyway, just the end of this episode. If you've made it this far, which would be amazing, thank you for listening. Be sure to check out the description where I occasionally put links to interesting things. I'm Fletcher, about to say goodbye as Data.
See ya.
You didn't learn the Elvish for that?
No.
And remember, every once in a while, declare peace. It confuses the hell out of your enemies.